What's good, y'all? Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Thank you for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. As always, if you could, please hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button to make sure you stay up to date with all of my Teachable Tuesdays videos. This is not going to be a long video, but I think this is going to be a very important one. I want to talk to you guys about a growth mindset and why some people might feel like they are stuck, and what can you do to get around the feeling of being stuck? Because let's face it, I think every single one of us at one point in time has had a moment or two, or maybe 3 or 4, where we felt like life was just kind of going by us, but we weren't going by life, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I've said this on this channel 1,000,001 times, and I've said this to people in person 1,000,001 times, and I'm going to continue to say it because it's the truth. I want you to sit back and reflect for a second and ask yourself, are you better than where you were at a year ago? Where were you at a year ago, first and foremost, before we even go there? Let's think about that. Where exactly were you at a year ago, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially? And once you think of those things, and maybe even academically if you're in school, and once you think of those things, really sit hard and ask yourself, hey, am I better than I was a year ago? Now, why do I say a year as opposed to yesterday or a month or a week? The reason why I say a year is because I think a year is a good timetable to, have some serious thought and serious measure in terms of where your life is at. You could say a week or a month ago, and don't get me wrong, if you're better than you were a week or a month ago, that's great. But, weeks fluctuate, days fluctuate, months fluctuate, and the accuracy of that timetable may not be completely spot on. Unless you go past 6 months. I think 6 months and higher, that's a pretty good start to a accurate, measurable timetable. But a year really paints a picture, right? I'll give you an example. I think about this time around last year. I was in a very similar predicament in terms of what I was doing. I was working summer school. I was working Boys and Girls Club. But financial situation is just about the same. It's a little better than it was last year in some cases. And in some cases could be a little bit more improved. But the one thing I can definitely say is better than where I was at last year is my walk with God, right? One of the things I've been working on as of recently is learning to get a bit closer to Him, really relying on Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, seeking Him first and His kingdom, right? Because that's becoming a crucial, important matter in my life. But also another way in which I've gotten better is I've learned how to let things go and let people go that don't serve a purpose. And that's very difficult for me to do because I get attached to people who are, become good friends or potential significant others. And I'm learning the art of detachment, if you will. It's okay to want something, but have to let it go because those people or that person is not good for you, right? So those are things that I can say that I've improved on in a year. So yeah, really sit back and ask yourself, how have you improved in a year? And if you have, what are some ways that you can continue to improve? If you have not, figure out why. Because if you haven't improved in a certain aspect in a year, that means that you are in the process of potentially repeating a pattern that is going to hold you back from your potential. A lot of P's there, a lot of alliteration. But for real, seriously, think about that. And ask yourself why. You know what I'm saying? Because we should always be growing or aiming to grow at the very least at all times. I'm not going to say that you're going to be growing every single day. Some things are a slow growth. Sometimes you do remain stagnant because there's just certain lessons that you have to learn that you haven't learned yet. But ultimately, we should always be growing. If you don't grow, you can't go. I said that in one of my shorts a couple days ago. So just think on that. Make sure you have a growth mindset, because The growth mindset ultimately starts with you, but eventually it branches off to other things that you might be involved in or could be involved in the future. You know, what if you want a family one day and you don't have a family? Or what if you currently have a family? What if you want a significant other one day and you don't have one as of yet? Your growth will help with that process. What if you want to become a leader of the company that you're a part of? Your growth will help out with that process. What if you want to get closer to God or the higher being that you believe in? Your growth will help with that process. Growth is important when it comes to you elevating your life. So, again, always keep a growth mindset. And if you aren't growing, sit down and reflect and figure out why you aren't and what do you need to do to start that growth process or to get back on that growth process. Because for some people, maybe you were growing and you stopped, right? Just some things to think about, all right? Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to always be a better you. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. And remember, keep going and keep growing. Peace.